First of all, I want to say congrats on season 2 because what I've seen so far is just incredible.
Thank you.
I want to ask sort of how early do you know that season 2 is happening, and like sort of when are you starting to think about kind of the story for that and where you're going to take it?
With this one, we knew, I would say, midway through shooting season 1.
Mm-hmm.
So as we were getting into it, Tom and I were having very loose conversations about where it could go and how where that season needed to end it so we could tee this up. I would say properly we got started doing additional photography for season 1.
Right.
We knew, like, at that point we had seen enough of that first season in the cut to be like, all right, we know what this is. We got something cool here. And so there wasn't really a break in between. I know it's been 2 years, but we kind of went straight from finishing season 1, and by the time it was airing, summer 21, we were already, myself, Eric Martin, the head writer, Tom, were already starting to build those first early scripts for what season 2 could be.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously season 1 is so highly regarded, and you create such like a rich like world and character, and the way it ends obviously with He Who Remains. Like, what kind of pressure does that sort of set going into season 2 to kind of, you know, maintain that level of quality?
It's a good pressure. Yeah. It can be a little scary at first, and that's what a lot of those early conversations was like, do we just come back and try to do the same thing? People like that. Do you play it safe? And like, we mostly just got to a point of, oh, this is really freeing. The weird things that we wanted to do in season 1, you can have a scene that is dramatic with a talking clock. You can have huge character arcs develop out of a person meeting an alligator version of themselves. And audiences like embrace that stuff, and it made us go, okay, no, like the coolest thing that we have to do for season 2 is keep pushing it, keep developing it, and keep making it surprising. And that's what people liked. So I think it became freeing.
And you sort of touched up on that there. I think the world of the TVA and time traveling especially, it provides such a rich sort of creative tapestry. What is it like sort of playing in that sandbox and kind of being able to jump between these different sort of times and worlds?
It's super fun. It's also like head spinning. Like the amount of whiteboards and graphs and flow charts that we've all made are crazy, and they're usually things that we go, only we are ever going to see this. When it gets on the screen, it has to only be 2 things. It has to be simple and intriguing, and the second it becomes homework and confusing, we've got to rethink it. So it's really fun, but it's only a tool that you can use to really tell like a character story. Like multiverse time travel on its own can kind of become just very unexciting very quickly if you don't ground it.
And something that I really loved was the McDonald's in sort of episode 2. I mean, that must be fun, just getting to kind of go back and do like an old school McDonald's.
It's just really nostalgic. And we thought that was a great storytelling device just to tell this like yearning that Sylvie's feeling. Obviously, she's never been to a McDonald's, but it was that sense of just a life, like a small town. You can go in there. But it was awesome, like to actually get to. We worked with an archivist who was like trying to help us find these things that just don't exist anymore. It was really fun.
Yeah, and He Who Remains is obviously so integral to Loki's character, but also the future of the MCU. Like, what kind of considerations do you have to take into account when you're sort of thinking about how to fold him into Loki's narrative? Like, do you have to consider the grander MCU?
The way that we've always talked, I would say no. And what's interesting is because we started developing that in season 1, and we were always like, I don't think anybody at Marvel realizes how big this is that we're about to do. And of course, like Kevin Feige does. But it's a nice thing in that we never were really told, all right, through this season, you have to tie this into this or do this. It was really, you guys have been telling this story for 6 hours, so finish your story, keep telling that story. So I think for us, it was like he is integral to it, and that you just keep pulling those threads through of if we left season 1 here, what does that mean for our characters and the turmoil that they're in and the organizations, the TVA, through this new season?
And finally, I just wanted to ask sort of what does Loki's sort of future look like? I mean, are you considering a 3rd season? Is he going to pop up elsewhere?
We've always talked about the series being 2 chapters of the same book.
Yeah.
2nd chapter, we're closing that, but there's other books on the shelf for sure.
Right.
And what we wanted to do with him this season was, have we ever seen the best version of Loki yet? We've seen him be a villain. We've seen him be an anti-hero. We've seen him toying with heroicism through the season, being challenged in that. But what would the best version of Loki look like? He's probably got to embrace all of those aspects. And so we certainly, by the end of this, want to leave him in a place that we've never seen him before.